This is the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast, episode 645.
I program my home computer.
We have a server crash, 404 error, page not found, links aren't working, system is crashing, system is crashing, system is crashing.
Your old HTML website, barely alive. We have the technology. We have WordPress. A new website, better than it was before. Better, stronger, faster. We have the technology. The
Hello, everybody. This is Adam Silvey, host of the Kitchen Sink WP Podcast. Thanks for being here. Let's get started. All right, upcoming events, diving into those. No WordCamps next weekend. Nothing going on. Take the weekend off. Everyone do that. Actually, we'll talk about that as well as far as fulfillment in a moment. But go back and watch something on WordPress.tv. So learn something new. All right, moving on. Segment one in the news. Two things here. First and foremost, Elementor apparently cut 100 jobs, which was 30% of their workforce. And apparently it was quoted as AI reshapes website building. And that is going to be a topic we'll talk about here in a minute as well. Link over on CTech. I have a link in the show notes of where you want to read all about this. So yeah, kind of unfortunate that 100 people were laid off. So if you're affected, I'm sorry. You know, it happens. Also in the news, Say Reed, a friend of mine who I haven't talked to in forever, I need to get her on this podcast. She reminded me through LinkedIn that the WP Community Collective has a survey. It's open through July 17th. It's the State of the Community Survey. It's open, inviting anyone who works with, builds on, contributes to, or cares about the WordPress open source project to share their perspective on the community and its ecosystem. It's going to take about 10 to 20 minutes to complete, covers topics including overall sentiment toward WordPress open source project, community participation, open source values, and the impact of AI. All responses are anonymous. Again, all responses are anonymous, so that's kind of nice. So if you wouldn't mind helping them out and take part in that survey. All right, what else? Anything else in the news? Nope, I do not think so. All right, moving on to segment two, the meat and potatoes of this week's episode. So I've been thinking about something lately. It's about optimization, not websites or WordPress specifically, but because we're WordPress people, we optimize page speed, databases, images, caching, hosting, all that stuff. It's practically our love language, if you will. Now, this week, I've been thinking about something else. The overlapping of life optimization, business optimization, and AI optimization. Totally, we're going to talk about this. Since it feels like everywhere I turn, somebody is trying to convince me that if I install one more app, automate one more workflow, or find another AI prompt, or wake up even 30 minutes earlier for me, which is crazy, somehow I might finally be caught up. Then I will finally be productive enough, and I will have enough time. And honestly, I'm not sure anymore. Now, full disclosure, these thoughts number one, are not new. And number two, have recently come back to me, have started returning in my noggin because I listened to another podcast recently that introduced a new phrase I hadn't heard of before called fulfillment maxing, air quotes, fulfillment maxing. Now, my first reaction was probably the same as yours. Oh, great, another internet buzzword. But the more I listened, the more I realized that there was actually something underneath the catchy title. It wasn't about maximizing fulfillment. It was about questioning whether we've become so obsessed with optimizing ourselves that we've forgotten why we started doing all this in the first place. And I couldn't help but think, if there's one audience that probably needs to hear this, it's us. Freelancers, agency owners, developers, creators, WordPress professionals at large, right? Because let's be honest, many of us, you know who I'm talking to, most of us, well, we're really good at optimizing things, sometimes maybe a little too good. Now, when I first got into WordPress, I wasn't thinking about AI agents or marketing funnels or conversion optimization. I was thinking, this is cool. I could build something. I could help someone. I could create something new. There was a genuine excitement every time a project came together. And I'm pretty sure that many of you felt the same way. Maybe you left a corporate job. Maybe you started freelancing on nights and weekends. Maybe you launched a plugin. Maybe you started an agency. Crazy. Maybe you just wanted a little bit more freedom that a traditional 9-to-5 could offer. Whatever your reason, I doubt any of us woke up one morning and said, you know what sounds amazing? Spending 20 years answering support tickets and fighting with DNS records. Yet somehow, here we are. So today's episode, a long preamble, is really about asking ourselves one simple question. Have we accidentally optimized the joy out of our business? Have we become addicted to optimization? Now, don't get me wrong. Optimization is a good thing. And I'm not suggesting we throw our laptops in the lake and become goat farmers. Although some Mondays that sometimes I feel like van life does sound appealing to me. Not so much my wife, but I could see myself having a van, hitting the road, taking my dog, go for a run. That's just me. So I'm going to share with you a couple areas here to think about, things to think about, and then a takeaway at the very end. Okay, bear with me here. Optimization is why WordPress became successful. It's why our websites perform better. Yes. It's why our clients are happier. Absolutely. It's why we automate backups, security scans, email campaigns, invoices, onboarding, and 100 of other repetitive tasks. Optimization is not the problem. It's when optimization quietly becomes the goal. Now, have you ever spent 3 hours trying to automate something that took 15 minutes to do manually? Come on, don't leave me hanging. We've all done it. I know I have, sometimes because I'm genuinely curious, sometimes because it's fun. I'm still trying to debug a Hazel issue for ICS files. I'm pretty sure it's a bug, but I digress. Sometimes because I simply wanted to prove I could do something, I do that thing. There's a part of me that loves solving little puzzles. I lose a whole afternoon sometimes inside of Zapier or building some clever workflow inside of WordPress. Then I look up and realize I just spent 4 hours, saved myself 20 minutes. Yes, technically I won. Practically, maybe not. So that's when I have to stop and ask myself a better question. Adam, are you improving your business or are you just entertaining yourself with productivity? There's a difference. Now, sometimes optimization does create value. Sometimes optimization simply feels productive. Those aren't always the same thing. And I think entrepreneurs are especially vulnerable because we're builders. We like solving problems. We enjoy tinkering. We love finding better ways to do things. But eventually we have to ask, better for what? So here's something I encourage you to think about this week. Look around your business. What's one thing you've been optimizing simply because you enjoy optimizing it? And what's one thing that would actually move the needle if you just sat down and finished it? Those answers, once again, are often very different. Now, let's talk about how automation should help you buy back some of your life. Let's talk about the AI aspect of it, because I'm kind of digging, perhaps overly so, maybe even a bit in love with these tools and where they're headed. I use AI almost every single day. Not almost. I use it every day. Brainstorming, writing first drafts, debugging code. Yeah, debugging code because I'm not that pure developer. I've said this before many times. I'm just not, but it helps. Doing research, summarizing meetings, all the things. It's become one of the most valuable tools in my business. But here's the mindset shift I've been trying to make lately. Automation isn't the destination. Automation is the transportation. I'll say it again. Automation is not the destination. Automation is the transportation. Its entire purpose is to take us somewhere better. The question is where? If AI saves you 2 hours, what are you going to do with those 2 hours? If automation handles your client onboarding, what fills that space? If your email workflow suddenly requires almost no effort, what do you do instead? Because here's what worries me. Many of us immediately fill the empty space with, you guessed it, more work, more meetings, more notifications, more email, more Slack, more client meetings, more client requests, more hustle, more side hustles. Hashtag, I am so guilty. It's almost like we have the subconscious belief that every empty square on the calendar needs to be filled. But maybe, just maybe, automation was never supposed to create more capacity for work. Maybe it was supposed to create more capacity for life, to think, to create, to read, to go for a run, to have lunch with your spouse, to mentor someone, to finally build that side project that's been sitting in your notebook for 3 years. That's what margin looks like, and margin might be one of the most valuable things we can build in our businesses. Now, I've noticed some things over the past year. Some of the projects I've enjoyed building the most weren't the ones clients paid me for. It just works out that way. Need a pacer, run Adam Run, the runner guide, run a resume. Obviously, all those things are running related, but that's me. Those are things I wanted to exist, and creating them gave me energy. Ironically enough, those projects often ended up creating opportunities that I never saw coming. Not because I planned every outcome, because I made room to build them. Automation gave me that opportunity. Not so I could squeeze in another meeting in there, but so I could make something. There's a huge difference. This whole topic also reminds me of Getting Things Done, the GTD, the main book back from when David Allen wrote it, his old system. And it's how it influenced how I worked for years. And I still think it's one of the most misunderstood books in the business. People assume GTD is about getting more done. I don't ever think it was that. It was about getting things off your mind. That's a different objective. Your brain isn't supposed to remember every invoice, every domain renewal, every client request, all the plugin updates, all the groceries you got to go buy, the podcast ideas, every doctor's appointment. That's exhausting. When everything lives inside your head, your brain stops creating. It starts babysitting, and that's expensive, creatively expensive, emotionally expensive, and yes, mentally expensive. When you capture those things elsewhere, now your brain can think again. It can solve problems, it can connect ideas, it can notice new opportunities. It has for me, and that's where interesting work happens. Ironically, one of the greatest productivity systems ever created wasn't about productivity. It's about creating peace of mind. And I think there's a lesson there for all of us. Maybe we don't need another productivity app. Maybe we just need more white space in a mental way. So this area that I want to talk about next real quick is become a personal rule for me. Use AI for the work that drains you, not the work that defines you. If you hate formatting spreadsheets, fantastic. Let AI help. If you hate writing those repetitive emails, again, perfect. Automate them. If you're staring at a blank page, absolutely ask AI for a first draft. But if you genuinely enjoy writing, write. If you enjoy teaching, teach. If you like recording videos, record them. If you coach people and that lights you up, don't automate yourself out of that experience. Those are the parts that remind us of why we built our businesses. AI should remove friction, not fulfillment. Those are two very different things. I think sometimes we're just in such a hurry to automate everything that we accidentally automate away the parts we actually enjoy. And that is a dangerous trait in my opinion. So here's a little exercise. Go grab a piece of paper. Go ahead, do it. I'll wait. Now I would say 5 seconds later. On one side of the paper, write down every task you absolutely dread. The repetitive stuff, the tedious work, the things that make you think, oh, I don't want to do this today. That is where AI belongs. Now, on the other side of the paper, write down the things that leave you energized. Teaching, creating, helping, designing, problem solving, connecting with people. Those are the last things AI should replace. Protect those. Those are the part of who you are. As I was thinking through this episode, I kept coming back to one simple question. Why did we start doing this? Not why do we keep doing it? Why did we start? For me, it certainly wasn't because I wanted to manage hosting accounts or update plugins or reconcile invoices or chase down overdue payments. I started because I really genuinely enjoy making things. I still do, whether it's a website, this podcast, a running community, a new business idea, a YouTube video, the random side project of a side project of a side project that may never earn a penny. I enjoy creating and ideating on things. And over the past year especially, I've realized something. The projects that give me the most energy aren't always the ones that generate most revenue or any revenue. Sometimes they're just the ones that remind me why I became an entrepreneur. NeedAPacer.com is a perfect example of this. Nobody asked me to build it. There wasn't some massive business plan, nor is there yet. I mean, I'm working on that. Hopefully that could change. I just kept thinking this should exist. So I built it. Maybe it becomes something huge. Maybe it stays small. Honestly, either outcome was okay because building it has been so fulfilling, and that's worth something too. I think many of us quietly stop making things because we become busy managing the things we've already made. That's understandable, but it's also dangerous because the builder inside of us slowly gets replaced with the manager. The creator becomes the admin. The entrepreneur becomes the operator. None of those roles are bad, but that if that's all we become, we eventually wonder where the excitement went. Maybe it didn't disappear. Maybe it's just got buried under calendars, invoices, support tickets, and email. And that's kind of sad. So here's my challenge for you this week. Go back to the thing that made WordPress exciting. Maybe it's building websites. Maybe it's designing. Maybe it's helping a nonprofit or teaching beginners. Maybe it's finally launching that plugin you've been talking about for 5 years. And that became much easier now with AI. Whatever it is, schedule some time for it. Not because it increases revenue, not because it's good marketing, not because someone expects it, because it reminds you of why you started. And I'm going to leave you with this. I really believe AI is a great opportunity for entrepreneurs that we've ever been given. Automation's incredible. WordPress is incredible. The tools we have today would have felt like science fiction when we started doing this 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 23 years ago. Wow. But here's the thing. Saving time was never the finish line. It's what we chose to do with the time that really matters. If AI saved you 10 hours this week, fantastic. My hope is that you don't simply fill those 10 hours with 10 more hours of work. Maybe you start building something you've been putting off. Maybe you mentor someone who's just getting started. Maybe you finally record a new podcast, write that blog post, or launch a side project, or simply take Friday afternoon off without feeling guilty. Over the past year, 18 months or so, life has forced me to ask some of these same questions. There have been some unexpected turns in my life, some new opportunities, and more than a little uncertainty. But somewhere in the middle of all that, I found myself getting back to what I enjoyed most: creating, building, experimenting, and helping people. It's that simple. Not because every project is guaranteed to become a huge business, but because I genuinely enjoy the process. And honestly, I've realized that's where a lot of the joy comes from. Because if you're anything like me, you probably didn't become an entrepreneur just to make more money. You became an entrepreneur because you wanted more freedom, some more creativity, a little bit more ownership, slightly more purpose. And maybe that's the metric we should be optimizing. Not productivity, not hustle, not output. Maybe, just maybe, we should optimize for fulfillment. So I genuinely I would love to continue this conversation. If this episode resonated with you, drop me an email, leave me a comment, reach out on social media. And there's an open invitation. I do this all the time. If you ever want to hop on a Zoom call to chat, brainstorm, bounce around an idea, or simply talk shop about WordPress, business, all the stuff we talk about, I'm always open for those conversations. Seriously, ask around. I enjoy them. And some of my favorite ideas have come from casual conversations over coffee or a video call. It's true. I really enjoy drop of a hat for the most part. Hit me up. Zoom call and or FaceTime, whatever you want. Let me know. All right. That is this week's episode. Kind of a little diversion kind of thing, but I'm excited about where things are going, and I want you to be too, but I want you to make sure you take care of yourself. All right, moving on. Segment 3, tip until the week. It's kind of a funny one. Heard this also on a podcast. It's a website. It's museumoffailure.com, talking about things that did not go well for other companies, and go check it out. So it's fun, and there's a lot in there from tech to food products and whatnot. Museumoffailure.com. All right, that is it for this week. If you have any questions, go ahead, send it in via email at KitchensinkWP.com, or use that speak pipe function on the website. If you want to support the show, become a Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can also sponsor the show. There's a form on the website. Fill that out, get back to you, and we'll go from there. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Now go out, do some awesome things with WordPress. All right, bye-bye.